Okay, guys. Now, today is Sunday here, and I have a total of 42 questions here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be answering questions all the way up until this weekend coming up, Saturday. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to take 21 questions, answer those today, and then perhaps tomorrow if I have time, I'll answer another 21 questions. And that will make it, 42 questions total. And like I said, if there are still other questions before Saturday, then I will answer those. Okay. So yeah, I just want to knock some of these questions out here. And these response questions, they will be. I will make sure I post it as a response for this video here. So, all right. So starting from the beginning, I'm going to take first 21 questions and try to answer them the best I can. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. W Weang 11. All right. First question I got. He asked first. May I ask what your educational background? May I ask what your educational background, university degree? 2. Which foreign language do you think you have the best command of, and why? 3. Which language did you find the most difficult to learn? All right. Okay. First of all, for the first question, let's see. I first started going. Before I moved to Columbus, Ohio, I first started going to University of Akron. I went there for like 2 semesters. I did terrible. I didn't actually. I went to class maybe a few times. I think, maybe a few times, and that was it. I was basically around that time when I first started learning Chinese. I spent a lot of time practicing Chinese with Chinese people, and it didn't go well at that university. So, University of Akron, and then after that, I moved to Columbus, Ohio, and I started going to Columbus State Community College, and that's where I knocked out a lot of my GECs, and then I did like a sort of a transfer not necessarily I did a transfer program, but there was some special program I could do from Columbus State to Ohio State. I was able to take certain class. I can't remember what the program was, but I went and took what was it? What class? It had something to do with Chinese. I think I went and took some Chinese placement tests, and they transferred back over to Columbus State. It was I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it was Columbus State Community College, and then eventually I transferred over to Ohio State. So that's that, and I'm still a senior. I haven't graduated yet, and I still have some classes to take, but I've been doing this tutoring thing, running this tutoring business ever since 2008, and I've been busy with that, so I don't know exactly when I'll be going back taking classes. I will eventually, but at this point I'm too busy and I won't be doing that. So, education background, university degree, and of course my major was Chinese, so that's what I was studying. I chose that. Number 2, which foreign language do you think you have the best command and why? I would say Chinese and Japanese, because I will definitely say Chinese and Japanese, because Chinese was the first one I started learning seriously, and like I said before, I spent a lot of time practicing with Chinese people, so I didn't really start getting into serious input, because at the time, like I said, I wasn't really studying Chinese. It was basically I had a phrase book. I would use I would take phrases from the phrase book and I would go use them on the Chinese, and I kept doing that. Did that for about between 3 to 6 months. I was doing that, and I was able to start speaking the language. Doing that like every day. I was doing it like every day. But like as far as input, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time on input on Chinese. So I would say Chinese I had the best command of that language, and Japanese, because I started learning Japanese right after that, and it's pretty much the same thing with Japanese. I didn't really study the language. I was just kind of like using phrases from the books and whatnot, and taking keywords and putting them together and trying them on native speakers, and that's how I learned. So those two languages will probably be, I have the best command of those two languages because I study, of course, because I studied them longer. And at that time, I didn't have any intentions on learning other languages. I didn't want to learn anything Chinese, but actually Chinese was the only one I wanted to learn. I didn't want to learn anything else. I said, you know what, I want to learn Chinese, and that's it. And I had got it. I was with my best friend, and we were like walking around and on campus, and we would meet like Koreans and Japanese, and we kept meeting Koreans actually, yeah. But it was funny because we kept meeting Koreans, but not meeting Japanese. But Japanese was the second language I started working on. But Koreans, like, we thought like they were Chinese, so we would ask them, like, oh, he might be Chinese, so we asked them the time and whatnot, and then yeah, they would tell, oh, we're from Korea, and like we couldn't practice, with them, so eventually we start learning Korean, and so the reason why Japanese came after Chinese because my friend, he studied Japanese before I did. He was like studying it. Ichimaru-san, you guys know Ichimaru-san. He started learning it like before me, and like every time we would go to Kent State or some other college, mainly Kent State. They had a lot of Japanese there. He would practice Japanese with them, and I didn't have no clue what they were talking about. I didn't know Japanese, so from there I started learning Japanese. So yeah, those two languages, those are my best languages, and yeah, it's my best command. So okay, in which language did you find the most difficult to learn? And as I said before, I look at languages, all languages in different aspects. Like I said, like grammar, I would say Arabic, Russian, Georgian. I'll say Arabic, Russian, Georgian. What other ones? Arabic, Russian, and Georgian. Those, for now, at least, the grammar for those languages, man, I tell you, difficult. So as far as grammar, I would say those are the most difficult, or has been the most difficult for me. Reading and writing, definitely Chinese and Japanese. Chinese and Japanese, reading and writing. Actually, the pronunciation, all that good stuff, I would say Vietnamese. Hmong is pretty difficult. Vietnamese, Hmong. Chinese is difficult, but it's not as difficult as Vietnamese in terms of pronunciation. And other than that, yeah. So I can't really say like the most difficult overall because I like to look at these languages in different aspects, like by aspects and whatnot. So yeah. So okay, that was Wyong 11. Hopefully I answered your questions thoroughly. The next one will be Pertman. Okay. He says, just curious, why do you choose to learn so many languages? Like in the video, you say you do 3 months, 30 hours a week to get to intermediate. Why not just fully master a handful instead? Yeah, this seems to be the most asked question here. And as I said before, there is no such thing as mastering a language. You can't master a language. When you start learning a language, you're not going to master it. I think learning languages as a whole, it takes a lifetime. Learning language is a lifetime process, a long lifetime process. So I don't like to say, okay, I'm going to take this language here and master it, and then move on to the next language, because there is no such thing. At least to me, there is no such thing as mastering a language, because there's always something to learn. Even in English, my native language, there's always something to learn. And I'm pretty sure in everyone's native language, there's always something new to learn. Okay, like my wife, her native language is Chinese. She learned some new stuff about Chinese. You see, so I mean, I don't believe in mastering language. I believe that you can master like certain aspects of a language, but totally mastering the language, I don't believe in that. That's why I don't like. I kind of be careful. I watch what I use in terms like master. You have to be careful with those type of words, because master it has a strong meaning behind master. When you master something, that means you fully master. You're a master. There's nothing else. You're complete. So I don't believe in that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I understand. Maybe you mean like get like now maybe high levels, like near native level fluency or whatnot. Maybe that's what you mean. But yeah, like you have to look at the whole picture. Like there are so many languages in the world, and if you're not going to if you're not going to the country to do like work or living there, whatnot. It's not. It's like if you don't plan on using the language professionally or living in the country, then it's kind of I don't know. I don't want to say a waste of time, but it's kind of like, okay, if I learn this language, how much will I retain if I don't use it on a normal basis? You see, you got to look at the whole picture. If you don't use the language every day, and you learn native fluency, that's great. You can learn native fluency, but you have to use it. If you don't use it every day, then it's going to be hard to retain that fluency in that language. That's why I always, when I tell people when I learn new languages, I like to get them to a level to where I can actually communicate. Will I be limited? Yeah, I will be limited. I will be limited in a lot of things, but you know what? I'm able to communicate with people, basic like daily things going on daily. Just communicate. I can communicate with people, get them around. Like if I'm lost somewhere, I can get my way. Talk my way around. That's basic communication. I will be limited in some things, on high native level fluency, but I will be able to communicate and get around in the country. So that's my goal when I learn new languages. I try to get to at least an intermediate or an upper intermediate level or low advanced, wherever around that area. Once you get to that point, then you'll feel like comfortable on this communication. Okay, so that's why I choose to learn so many languages, and the methodology I use, how I go about learning language, I learn them fast. So it's like whenever I start a new language, I can apply the same methodology and it works every time. So it's like, okay, I have an efficient methodology, so why not? I could use it on this language, use it on that language. But that's not necessarily the whole reason why I do that. But like languages, like a handful of languages, I start learning all these languages because I have like I don't know, maybe a sickness, maybe I got a problem, maybe I'm really sick, I need to go see a doctor or something. But every time, literally every time I meet someone from a different area, like let's say if I go to the store today and I bought something and the cashier, she was from Samoa, okay. And I asked her, where she's from. She said, "Oh, I speak Samoan. I'm from Samoa. I speak Samoan." I would be so interested in Samoan. Like if something clicks. Like, oh wow, Samoan. I want to look into that language. Then I go look into the language. I get so curious about it, and I end up getting resources, and I actually start learning the language, and that's what happens to me every time I do that. So it's like I'm so hungry to learn about new languages. So that's why I choose like a handful of languages. Like that's why I'm learning like hundreds of languages right now. But it only makes sense that you're not going to be like on a native level in all those languages. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. So that's why I have this plan now that when I choose certain languages for a year, and I have the languages I dabble around with at the same time. I choose 4 languages. And it's that plan, and then I have the other languages. The other language I will dabble with. So that's why I do what I do. Okay, and we always talk about people's goals. Everyone has their own goal. That's my goal. I want to be on the intermediate, upper intermediate level. I don't. If people can't respect that, I don't know what to tell them. So everyone has their own goals, and that's my goal for now. But who knows, in the future something may happen. I may get to go live in these different countries, and once that happens I'm going to be already on an intermediate or upper intermediate level in these languages. So what that means, when I get over there and living in that environment, then it's going to make my language, my skills going to go higher. Like I'm going to be able to attain like a near native fluency because I'm able to use that language like every day in that society, every day. Okay, so I think it's just a goal thing for most people. If you plan on going to work in a country, if you're going to work, let's say China or something, you got a job, then you better try to attain like a near native fluency level. You can get there on that level. Okay, so it all depends on what you're doing. But for me, I'm content on what I'm doing now. So, all right. Let's see. Next one, Sonic Blaze 33. How do you learn? What is it? Okay. How do you earn a living teaching? Right. If not, what other ways? By what age do you know? By what age do you think you will accomplish your goal? Have you encountered any type of racism when visiting a country to practice a language you learned with native people? What do you think about the current political situation of your country? Disagree or agree with the healthcare reform, troops in Afghanistan, etc.? What cultures do you enjoy most besides Japanese and Chinese? Let me see. Okay, so the first one, how do you earn a living? You guys, yeah, I pretty much do teaching. I've been doing this teaching thing full time. So this is pretty much what I do. This is how I earn a living. My wife also works. So we both have steady incomes coming in. So let's see. If not, okay, and let's see. By what age do you think? Now this question, by what age do I think I'll accomplish? Going back to what I just said, it's going to be a lifetime process. Okay, I'm not setting any deadlines saying, okay, by the age of 40 or 60 or whatever, I'm going to know all this. I'm not going to do that because tomorrow's not even promised. I can be gone tomorrow, so I'm not going to set any dates, any goals, or any dates saying that, by 60 or by 70 or whatever, I'm going to know these such and such languages because, hey, I might not even reach that age. So I just look at it like this is going to be a lifetime process, and whatever happens, I'm going to let them, I'm going to just put them out there and let it move all by itself. I'm going to let yeah, but I'm not going to just set any dates though. That's just, we'll see what happens. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing now, and whatever happens, happens. So I'm not trying to say like by the age of 60 I'm going to know all this and all that. We'll see when that happens, or if that happens. Okay, have you encountered any type of racism when visiting a country to practice the language you learned with native people? No, I've never encountered any type of racism like that. I don't know, it's so funny because like anything racist related, it would probably be on the internet, but like face to face, like in real life, I've never had that. Like, at least like I have some people call me names like when I was younger, like I was like a kid in elementary school or in the middle school around that time. But now as like an adult, I haven't had that. Haven't encountered that type of problem. And going to other countries, man, like I said before, when I went to Taiwan and Japan, I don't know, it's like I went to Taiwan, especially Taiwan. I felt like very comfortable. Like, I don't know, I can't explain it. When I went over to Taiwan, going to all these different places, it felt like it felt like it's my original home. Like, it's a different feeling. Like, I feel very, very, very comfortable there. And how can I say this? I feel very comfortable in Taiwan than I'll feel here in the U.S. Okay, I know that probably sounds weird because I was born here in the U.S., but when I went over to Taiwan, I felt like, I don't know, I don't know, man. I can't even explain it. It's so deep. Like, I just felt very comfortable over there in Taiwan. It was just a great feeling. It was great. So, I haven't encountered any types of racism in other countries. I mean, sure, racism exists. It's never going to go away. But at least I haven't encountered that stuff yet. So, I have people staring at me. But, of course, when you go to a different country, people are going to stare at you being a foreigner, period. No matter if you're black or white, they're going to stare at you. They're going to be staring at you because especially if they don't see foreigners often. So, yeah. Okay, let's see. What do you think about the current political situation in the country? Yeah, I don't really, the politics, I try to stay away from politics. Like, I would consider myself a very informed person about what's going on and whatnot. And, I have my certain opinions and views on the politics. I don't get caught up into that stuff. I'm not like Democrat or Republican. I don't mess around with that stuff because I just think it's all BS, and it's all like I don't know. I just think it's a game. I look at it like someone said before. It's like WCW versus WWF. It's all a game. So I don't even do that. I don't vote. I'm not even part of that stuff. I just try to stay informed of the real issues that's going on, and that's so important to stay informed on certain issues. And I don't like to talk about it. I don't want to consider myself very. I'm not really good at talking about politics, so I'm not strong about it. I just know what I need to know for myself and my family. So. Yeah, the politics here are pretty bad. I think the politics everywhere are pretty bad, and corruption and whatnot. It's just a lot of things I don't agree with, whatnot. So I just think the politics are messed up here in this country. And healthcare reform, troops in Afghanistan, same stuff. Like, I don't know what to say about the healthcare reform. I can't say it's a good thing, bad thing. Because like I said, I don't know enough knowledge about like a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to be talking about this, or at least try to talk about it when I don't have knowledge about it. So what I can say is that I don't know if I can agree with this healthcare reform stuff. Troops in Afghanistan, that's another thing. I don't even agree with troops being over there. And like I said, there's a lot of reasons behind that. And I don't want to try to sit up here and talk about them because it'll probably take like 2 hours. So I'll just keep it simple and say, yep, I don't agree with a lot of that stuff. Okay. What cultures do you enjoy most besides Japanese and Chinese? Oh, besides Japanese and Chinese, See, I like all cultures. I have like a connection with everyone. I love everybody, but like, I think there's something about the Asian, like, in general, not just Chinese, Japanese, but just Asia in general. I have like the strongest connection with. I don't know why, but I have a really, 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 really strong connection with Asia in general. But like I said, I love all the places and all the countries and whatnot. It's just that there's something about Asia that I really, really love. I have it's like a deep connection with that country or with that continent. So yeah. All right, moving on to the next question. Paul Boogie. Okay, do you have a trick to memorize the tones for Chinese words? There's no trick for memorizing tones in Chinese, Vietnamese, all. I think the key is listening and practicing all the time. You have to listen. I would say you listen, and then you repeat after it, and you just repeat after that. Listen, repeat after, listen, repeat after. That's the best way. I wouldn't consider that a trick. I don't think that's a trick. It's just repetition, just practice. What language would you say Tagalog is most similar to? I think Tagalog, from my little bit of knowledge of Tagalog, it seems that they have there are a lot of words they share with Malaysian, Indonesian, but the grammar is so weird in Tagalog, and it's one of those Austronesian languages. So I think Samoan, it would be close to Samoan. What other language? Yeah, Samoan and some other ones I can't think of right now. But yeah. Let's see. I have problems when listening to native speakers when they speak at their normal pace. I can pick up some words, but that isn't enough. Is this just a matter of vocabulary? Do you have any tips, suggestions on how one can improve listening? Well, when I first started learning the Chinese and those Japanese, all those languages, I didn't think I would ever be able to understand, like, because of how fast they spoke. But I think it's most definitely a matter of vocabulary and just listening all the time. You just have to practice, listen over and over and over and over, and practice listening over and over. Just do that stuff over and over and over, and eventually you will be able to catch it. You'll be able to catch a pretty good percentage of what they're saying. But you have to, listening is so important. If you're not in an environment, you have to listen to it as much as you can. So that's very important. Do you have any? Okay. With this is funny. With Rufus against an unknown Shoto after your first knockdown, do you bait a DP or keep up the dive kick pressure? That's so funny that you asked that. I haven't played Street Fighter for a long time. I haven't played since the last season's beatings tournament. Like, seriously. And, Super Street Fighter is about to come out. And that question, the DP... Normally what I do, that's a hard matchup for Rufus. First of all, it's a hard matchup. And I don't consider myself a professional Rufus player, but whenever I fight against fight against Ryu or Ken, when I knock them down, I'll do like a cross up. I'll do two cross up dive kicks. I'll cross up on the other side and then I'll cross back over. Or sometimes I'll do like I'll do two fast 2 fast dive kicks, like the short one. I'll do 1, 2, and then I'll jump on the other side, and I'll do a couple jabs and try to bait the dragon punch, or I'll just wait. But most players, smart players for real, they'll try to when they do that dragon punch, they normally cancel out of it and back up. So I don't know. It's you have to really yeah. That's how I bait like DP. It's tough, but that's how I do it. And if they do that DP, then you can get like a free that kick. Was it there's like a mid kick to that high, knocks him up, and you do that free super move. That's normally what I do. That's just basic tactics. So all right, let's see Turkish into English. Okay, what's the first language you learned? How do you memorize words? The first language, again, Chinese. And I don't memorize word, like, it's kind of like memorizing words. I wouldn't take I didn't have like vocabulary lists and whatnot, just memorize them like that. I just kind of use them in context. Like, I memorize something and I use it. I memorize something else, I use it. And then I hear them say something, and then I don't understand, I write it down. Just doing that over and over, and then, I mean, that's the best way, instead of having like lists of vocabulary. That's how I memorize most of my words. And I think reading is also another important thing for memorizing words. So yeah, that's that. Let me see. Okay, okay, so this is from Aisada Aburu. Why did you choose to learn a lot of languages rather than focus on a few and achieve near native fluency? I've answered that question already. Let's see. Which dialect accent do you learn for languages that have a lot of dialects accents, like Chinese or Arabic? Arabic, Egyptian, definitely Arabic, Egyptian. Egyptian, I'll learn Egyptian accent. Actually, before I started learning like Fluency, the first resources I purchased for Arabic, they were all Egyptian accent. So I was talking about this before. When I was learning that, I used to listen to the tapes, and I was like, yeah, I'm learning Arabic. And I would go to the corner stores, the Arabic corner stores, and practice with them, and they would laugh at me. I didn't know why they were laughing. They understood. They understood. Not all of them. Some of them they would laugh at me, and I asked them why they laughing, and they say like they would say, you effing Egyptian, or they call me something about Egyptian. And I'm like, oh. So I didn't realize that I was speaking like Egyptian accent until someone told me. So I didn't know about Fusha, I didn't know about the MSA, I didn't know about that. It was just like the resources I had were for Arabic. So Chinese, as far as dialects, I'm learning Shanghainese, Cantonese, and Taiwanese. That's it. I'm not learning any other dialects well, there's another one, Hokkien, or more Hokkien, the Fujianese, Fujianese. So yeah, those are the ones I learned. And Taiwanese is very important to me. That's very important. The most important dialect to learn. So yeah. Let's see. In the one. Okay. All right. So, do you believe that one should learn bad curse words before anything else in the language? Yeah, of course. And that last one. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, a lot of people, I noticed that they learn bad words because they're not really serious about the language. I guess if they're not serious, I guess it's okay. But like, I don't know. Like, most of the time when you ask a native speaker to teach you some language, they'll say, "Oh, I'll teach you." And the first thing they'll teach you is probably like some like bad words or something like that. That's the first thing they will want to teach you. Probably not. It's not their fault. It's probably like most of the time people who are wanting to learn their language, they ask them how to say bad things, so they're just used to teaching people bad stuff. So they say, "Oh, I'm gonna teach you how to say this, say that." So I don't think that if you're serious about learning language, I wouldn't learn that stuff. I will save it until later. Like, I don't know any. Let's take. Let me see. Languages like Hmong. I don't even think I know any bad words in Hmong. You see, I don't know any bad words in Hmong now. I sure don't. And I don't care about them right now because I'm trying to learn the language. I'm trying to learn the real stuff first, and then I'll learn that bad stuff. But yeah, that's that. Words, anything else? And the last one, let's see. And the last one doesn't relate to languages. I hope it's not too personal. What's your religion? Yep. I mentioned before. I've been studying Islam for. I converted to Islam when I was 18. So my religious background is Islam. So that makes me Muslim. All right. Let's see. Okay, so Sherry Harrison. I'm a secondary school teacher and have children from many nations into my class. I decided Persian first, as I would like to be able to talk to my students. What materials did you use for this language? I prefer the Iranian dialect as opposed to the Afghani one. Yeah, I'll send you a private message. I'll send you the link to. I have a resource video I made for Persian, and I don't really study Afghani. It's just Iranian. I think it's just some of the words I pronounce when speaking Persian. I just make Arabic sounds. So that's why people think it's like an Afghani dialect. It's not Afghani. It's Persian. I just pronounce some words like Arabic. But I'll send you a private message. I'll send you the link. Okay. Okay. Matt knows how much time. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Manos. How many hours in total does it take you on average to achieve high beginners, intermediate, low advanced in the foreign language? I'm not really good at math, so I would just like to say, if I get all my, I'll just say like maybe depending on what language it is, between 3 to 6 months, I'm able to learn the language. Like I'm able to learn the language really good. Between 3 and 6 months. I may still be limited, of course, but I'm able to learn like that communication, that basic communication that I yearn for. I'm able to acquire that between 3 to 6 months as long as I get my time in. And that's, like I said before, it's like a 30 hours a week study, at least 30 hours a week study. So let's see. 2, are there any languages you are planning to speak on native fluency level someday? I don't know. A possibility. Like I said, if I get to go to Japan or live over there, or China or Taiwan, if I get to live over there for like a long period of time, then yeah, most definitely I'm going to be able to speak on a native fluency level because I'm going to be able to use the language every day. So it's going to be easy. But right now, I don't have any intentions on spending a lot of time trying to learn a language to native fluency because I'm not going to retain all that stuff, especially if I don't use it every day. So it doesn't really make any sense for me to do that now. Number 3, given very limited amount of time to learn a new foreign language, what would you be focused on the most? I'm not exactly sure what you mean here. I think listening and reading, that stuff is very important. That stuff is very, very important. I realized that's very important because, like I told you before, when I first started learning Chinese and in those languages, Chinese and Japanese, I didn't really spend a whole lot of time input, like listening to like television shows or like audio and whatnot. It was just basically on hand practice with native speakers, and whatever they were saying to me, I eventually caught on, understood what they were saying. But in the end, that's not enough because you have to listen to a lot more stuff. And I wasn't really in an environment where I could hear Chinese every day. It was just basically meeting Chinese and then just speaking with them, practicing the stuff I learned before. So input is very important. I would definitely say input is very important. Okay. All right. Cooley. Okay, I think this is the is this the 10th? Yeah, this is the 10th question. Okay, Cooley. Okay, hey Lao Shu, I'd like to ask what you would define as intermediate and whether you think a person can be an intermediate at reading but only a beginner at listening at a specific point in time. If that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'd also like to know if there are any languages you don't plan to tackle, and if so, why? Intermediate, I would look at it like this. Intermediate is you're when you reach intermediate, you're of course going to be limited. You're going to still be limited. But once you reach intermediate, you're able to like have this basic communication with someone. Like you can keep it flowing, basic conversation about daily stuff, daily activities, daily issues, stuff like that. If you get lost somewhere, you're able to get around. Like once you're able to do that, once you get on intermediate level, you see. But once you get to like a high level, like really high advanced level near native fluency, you just can talk about various topics. It's good. But that's intermediate, and I think intermediate is a good level. So don't get discouraged when people try to say that well, you're not on native fluency level, because I wouldn't get discouraged. It all depends on people's goals. If you don't have any intentions on going to the country using that language every day, no work, then just acquire intermediate level. Acquire intermediate level if you're learning like multiple languages. Okay, if you're like me, crazy, learning all these languages, then I would at least attain an intermediate, upper-mediate level. But if you only learn, let's say, you only learning like 2 languages or 1 language, I mean, why not strive for that native fluency? I mean, I would try if I was learning 1 language, because you're not learning any other languages. So it makes sense. It makes sense to take 1 language and spend that much time on it. But when you're learning multiple languages, it's hard to do that, because all those languages, you got to think. Like in my case, Hmong, I don't use Hmong every day. I don't have any Hmong friends to talk with, so it won't make sense for me to learn a language like that on native level fluency. So I just want to get to a certain point when I'm able to speak with these people on a basic level. I'm able to just that really nice feeling of having this conversation. Languages like those, and like Hmong and Estonian, I mean, I'm not going to be using those languages every day. So that's why I'm not looking to get those up to like a native fluency. So like I said, I'm not going to say it's never going to happen, because I don't know what lies in the future. I may get to go live in those countries. I have no idea. So we'll see if that time comes. All right. Let's see. Oh, and reading, intermediate, whether you think a person can be an intermediate reading. Yeah, I actually know people who are really good at reading. Like, they are really good at reading, but they can't speak. So yeah, it's definitely that it makes sense. You can have someone who is very advanced at reading, but they can't speak. They're like beginner at speaking. They can't speak. So, that's like I said, that's another preference. I don't question them. If that's what they want to do, if they want to just learn how to read, that's on them. More power to them. I don't have anything against that. So I mean, there are some limitations there because they can't speak and whatnot. But hey, if that's their goal, hey, that's their goal. Okay. Also, to know if there are any languages you don't plan to tackle. This is another question that I can't answer, because I don't want to sit up here and say, oh, I'm not going to learn a Celtic language. I'm not going to learn a language like that, because in the past I've said some things like that. Like, for example, a language like a rare language like Hmong or something like that. I was just like, I'm going to learn Chinese and Japanese, which were mainly Chinese. And look at me now. I'm learning all these languages, so it's crazy now. So I don't know what lies in the future. It may get worse than this. I'm not going to answer that question. It'd be hard to answer it. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, next question. Delothius, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. How long did it take you to learn your first foreign language and language you start on your own? Chinese, like I said, between 3 to 6 months, I was able to have a basic, conversation. I was able to have a fluent conversation with native speakers. Of course, limited. I'm still limited in Chinese, but it took me between 3 and 6 months to actually learn how to speak the language. Let's see. Would you publish a book later in your later life, about your language learning experience? Most definitely. Most definitely. How long did it take you to achieve reading fluency in a language that uses a script you didn't encounter before in another language? This question, it all depends on what language it is. A language like Chinese, Japanese, like, it takes a long time. I'll say when you start learning a language like Chinese, Japanese, it's going to take you at least, I'll say a little, I think if you study diligently for a whole year, maybe a year and a half, I don't know, maybe I'll have to say 2 years. Because the reading is so difficult. You have to read like every day, practice that. Maybe less than 2 years, you should be able to get a pretty good level on reading Chinese or Japanese. It's tough. It's not like Spanish or French, where you can learn that in like less than a month. I mean, it's not like that. So when you learn languages like Chinese, Japanese, those characters, it's going to take you a long time to attain like reading fluency, like high level fluency in that in those languages. So language like I said, Latin based, it doesn't take that long. Like I learned how to read like Hmong. That's good. Hmong uses Latin also. The sounds are weird, but it took me like a couple days. It took me a couple days to learn how to read Hmong, like to actually learn how to pronounce those words. Like less than a week, couple days. Now the Pahal script, it takes me longer, and actually I still haven't mastered the Pahal script. I still have to go back and look at the pamphlet with the letters, because I haven't really mastered it, because it's hard, because you can't really use not many people know how to read that, and you can't type it on a computer and practice with someone online. So the only thing you could possibly do is like just whatever you write in Hmong, just transfer it over from the RPA onto the Pahal. They have certain sites where they have some Pahal readings. You can go try that, but that's the only way to keep up on it. So that took me longer. They have a lot of letters in that Pahal script. So it all depends. It doesn't take that long depending on the language. I think it just takes longer for Chinese and Japanese. All right. Let me see. Is there any point? Okay, what is this? Atlantic-ish. Is there any point of learning an endangered language? Would it be a waste to study a language that is spoken by less than a million people? Okay, so is there any point? Yeah, there's a point. It's just rewarding. It doesn't matter what language it is. When you learn any type of language, if it's endangered or less than a million people speak, it's still rewarding. You never know what's going to happen after you learn that language. You still got people out there interested in learning language, and I think it's a good idea to try to learn endangered languages and try to get people motivated to learn them and keep them alive. You see, I think that's very important, and it's good to do that. So, yeah, it's not a waste. I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste. A waste when people aren't willing to go out of their box to learn something about another culture or language. I think that's a waste. A terrible mind is a terrible thing to waste. I think that's a waste. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. So we'll waste time less than a million. Yeah. So I don't believe in a waste of time learning a language. All languages to me are precious. I will learn any language. Okay. Now I know I've said before that certain languages they're written languages, they're not really spoken. Like, because I like all aspects of language. I like to speak. So that's why I say I lean more towards the language that I'm able to actually speak than read. You see, so there's nothing wrong with just learning language to read, but I just love to speak the language, so that's why I do that. So yeah, the only reason. Okay, so Kenster, next question. Kenster, the only real question I have that I want answered the most is, what are some careers that are out there for people who are interested in learning languages such as yourself? Like, I want to do something with languages, but I don't know what there is to do. There are a lot of things you could do out there. And a lot of people become professors, they become teachers. And I think that's great to become teachers. I know I've said some things about the university and whatnot. I don't agree with the way they teach. But, I think it's good. You could be a teacher in university. It's just like, you just have to come up with a good strategy to help people learn languages. Like, they have to make them have fun learning languages. And, like, I think, like I said, there are good teachers in the university. There are very good teachers there, but they just have to follow most of them they're just there doing what they have to do to get the students to the next level. But you can become a teacher, you become a professor, you can become an interpreter. It just all depends on your goals. If you're trying to reach, like, if you gunning for native like fluency, I would try to go for an interpreting or a translating job. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do. Other than that, language learning, teaching university, professor, interpreter, those type of jobs, yeah, those you can use language for those. For me, what I'm doing, like, I don't know, I like teaching people, I like helping people learning languages and whatnot, but I don't feel like I would want to do something like teaching in university, because I would be quite limited. And I can't do it my way, and I don't like that, and it goes against a lot of the stuff I believe in terms of language learning. So I have no interest in becoming a professor or a teacher in university. It just won't work for me. I could see becoming a professor or teacher in my own school, but not someone else's school. Especially if I have to limit myself. I don't like being limited like that. So, yeah. So that's basically what you can do. Interpreting, a teacher, professor. It all depends on what you want to do. So, okay, next question. Melancholia 2000. Okay, I'm curious about your reading and comprehension skills. Can you read? Can you read Chinese? Can you read a Chinese newspaper and understand everything in it? What about a Japanese newspaper or a Korean newspaper? Do you think you could go to a university in those countries mentioned and have no problem keeping up with the rest of the students in the class? Well, first of all, yeah, I can read a Chinese newspaper and a Japanese newspaper, but I can't understand it 100%. That's to be honest with you. So I can't fully understand. I'll say about maybe 60%, maybe 65, between 60 and 70% I understand, but not a full 100%. Same with Korean. My Korean is not that good. My Korean is not that good. So, like I said, I can speak a lot of conversational stuff, but it's not as good as my Chinese and Japanese. So that's like I would say my Korean is like a low intermediate, high beginners, low high beginners, low intermediate level, somewhere around there. It's not that good. So I can't, of course, read Korean newspaper. I understand that much. So I'm going to university in those countries mentioned and have no problem keeping up with them. Well, definitely, I would probably be able to understand a lot, but probably won't be able to keep up like 100%. Now, I would be okay with Chinese, Japanese. I may be okay with those two languages, but maybe I'll get, I don't know, maybe I'll get lost sometimes and be limited in certain areas. But I think I'll be okay with those two languages. Yeah, definitely. But Korean, I don't know. I can't say. It'll be hard. I won't be able to keep up with them because my level isn't good enough. Okay, Stephen Arbuthnot. Okay, hi Lao Shu. I have one simple question. In your opinion, what is the limit of amount of languages that an individual can learn while retaining fluency in all of them? I don't think there's a limit, but you have to look at the whole picture again. If you're in a country or wherever you are, if you're in an area where they use like several languages on a daily basis, you get to, let's say 20 or 30 different languages you get to hear every day. You use them. Then yeah, I think it's possible that you can retain fluency in it, but you have to use, if you're talking about native like fluency, you have to make sure you're using them every day, like every day, almost every day, in professional areas or whatnot. Yeah, definitely. I think it's possible. I don't think there's a limit. So, all right, Steve, let's see. Ruski, okay. I do not wish to call for any debate, but I have always been curious as to your religious views. You had shown a Chinese Quran in one of your videos, and I was just wondering as why you had a Quran. As I mentioned before, my religious background is Islam. So I already answered that. Let's see, May 55. Hello, Lost 55,001. Do you ever get overload with so much going in your head? Nope. Because no, I don't get an overload, and I'm not stressed out either when I learn languages because it's so fun. It's so fun, so I don't get stressed out and oh, this is too much. It's so fun learning these languages, and it's just great. So, no, I don't have a bunch going through my head. The Wise Monkey 8. What are your long-term plans? PhD, lecture, research, your own school, what? Similar to a question I answered. Pretty much. Yeah, I'm looking to run my own school, inshallah, God willing, in the future. We'll see. Okay, Lombarian, I have one question. Would you consider studying a Celtic language, Irish, Scottish, Gaelic, Manx, Welsh, Breton, Cornish? I'm asking this because there are probably not many native speakers left in any of these 6 languages. Most definitely, I'm interested. Actually, I have Gaelic and Irish material stuff here. I didn't add it to my list. I have so many languages here. Yeah, definitely Irish and Gaelic. I'm interested in those languages. Welsh, yeah. And the last question, see, Shea Roberts, for you, what was the hardest thing about learning Japanese? All right, the hardest thing, let's see. The reading and writing wasn't really, well, writing is always difficult if you don't write every day for Chinese and Japanese. But since I was learning Chinese first, when I started learning Japanese, I didn't think the characters and whatnot, I didn't think they were that bad. I mean, I had to switch to traditional eventually, but they weren't really overwhelming. Like, man, this is too much. I just picked them up. Because I was used to reading them in Chinese. So, yeah, Japanese, the reading and writing, and the grammar. Because see, Chinese grammar is close to English. So when I went from Chinese to Japanese, it was kind of weird. Like, wow, okay, this is over here, the ga particle. So the grammar was difficult for me coming from Chinese, to Japanese. But I think the grammar is tough, but I still don't think it's up there with Russian and Arabic. I think they're in Georgian. I think it's really it's something. But yeah, that's the last question. Oh, that's 20. I'm 21. One more. Okay, Swankin Standard. Okay, he asked me, what was the first language you ever learned? I don't know. It looks like Loki. He said French then Chinese when he answered it. So yeah, French, because I had to take French in high school. We all had to take a foreign language: Spanish, French, Italian, and French was a language that I started studying. Very, very, very first language I actually started to learn. Not seriously, but as a requirement. And my French is not good, by the way. And then Chinese. So yeah, French was first, and then I started Chinese. So yeah. That was 21 questions, and I hope I answered you guys' questions thoroughly. I know it's a pretty long video. That's why I wanted to break it down into like these different parts. So this would be like questions and answers part 1. And sometime tomorrow I may continue. I have 21 other questions. I'll probably answer those tomorrow sometime. And like I said, if there are any other questions after tomorrow, before Saturday, I will also answer those. So that's it for this video here, and that was pretty fun, and like I said, I hope I answered them thoroughly, and look forward to you guys' comments, and thanks for viewing.